This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
Getting closer and closer to the possibility of a new Alec Murdaugh trial. Alec Murdaugh certainly thought it was a good idea to go and take the stand during his trial. This, it's not truly a trial that we're going into, but her credibility and her reputation are very much on the line. Is it a good idea for her to take the stand, or could she dig her hole even deeper?
Well, if I were her attorney, I would say, do not take the stand because of all of these allegations that are coming up, right? The Murdaughs are saying that they have far more than jury information. They want to use telephone records and testimony from other staff members, documentary evidence from other people. So they, excerpts from the book. I mean, you can bet they have put together a strong case in this situation. If I were her attorney again, I would say don't go on the stand because there's so much she seems to be involved in, and that could open the door for some of that.
How well do you think the prosecution is going to be able to counter all of these arguments that are coming up? Because like you said, we only know bits and pieces thus far of what's going to be argued, and those bits and pieces look pretty strong. But yeah, that list of other things that they're planning on bringing up, what they're alluding to that they want to bring up seems to also be probably a list that's going to have quite an impact.
Well, I think the biggest thing the prosecution has on their side is really who has come forward. It's a juror that was kicked off because of violations of court rules. She didn't deliberate. I mean, that's the main person that has apparently come forward in this. And I think that's a strong piece of information that the prosecution is putting forward. In other words, the jurors who deliberated aren't saying they were affected.
Sure. But she didn't deliberate. The argument that the defense is making is, well, Becky handpicked this one to get rid of and say, you can't be here. And the argument being that she felt that maybe this could be kind of the loose end, if you will, that won't deliver that guilty verdict.
Right. No, that's true. But remember, it wasn't her that made that decision. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, that was up to Judge Newman.
That's true. That's true. And this would be very interesting. Do you anticipate Judge Newman taking the stand in this at all as a witness? Obviously, it was his clerk of court. He's pretty darn close to this whole case, closer than probably almost anyone. I would think he may have some words to say or observations about Becky Hill. Who knows, good or bad?
I would be surprised if he is not called. I think it's very possible he will be called, even if it's in an in-camera session. I also wanted to bring up that in this situation, the burden has completely shifted now. Mm-hmm. So the burden is on the Murdaughs. They have to come up with that burden to prove that something like this happened. It's not on the prosecution. So they have a large burden to prove on tampering allegations. I mean, that's a beyond the reasonable doubt. They're arguing that they should only have to prove preponderance at this point. But then that would deny due process of these allegations for Becky Hill.
Sure.
In other words, there would be a punishment that would have been handed down already. So I think that's very interesting too. They've got a big burden to prove.
They do. What's your gut telling you? Where do you think it's going to land after this hearing?
Oh, Tony. Well, see, I'll tell you why I'm really bothered by this. I staunchly believe in the Sixth Amendment. As an example on the Richard Allen case, I just cannot believe that judge pulled those attorneys out from underneath him at this stage, considering his situation, right? So I'm just a huge believer in that. And even though Murdaugh, I can't even say his name without getting that creepy feeling like a spider crawling up my back. But Murdaugh, just like all of us, we deserve that fair, impartial trial, and we deserve for our trials to be just. And certainly, if there was any impropriety, if she tried to or say things that would lead jurors not to believe what Murdaugh said on the stand, blah, 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 blah. And I think he deserves a new trial, but there's a lot to be proven before I can get over that hurdle.